I believe that there is a secret plan for Jung Hoo Lee, and the Giants have given us hints. And I'm going to tell you what that secret plan is, what that theory is on this episode of Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Alan Stiles, and it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, thanks to people like you. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, the Alan Stiles Show, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. We are getting it started right now as we discuss my theory on the Giants' secret plan for Jung Hoo Lee. We also have Bleacher Report's projected rotation for the Giants. And trust me, you are not going to want to miss that because it's a good one. It's really a good one. And last but not least, we have an overseas overview where we will discuss everything that's going on the different leagues overseas and how that connects back to the Giants and the potential free agent signings that they may have. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So I was just sitting and I was working on the rundown, as I call it, getting ready for today's show. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I had a different show ready to go. And then something hit me as everybody is talking about all these moves and signing Joey Wiemer and signing Justin Dean, and everybody, there are a lot of fans in the comments and just all over social media upset with the Giants about these fringe moves. Now, I still think that they could make a larger move for Harrison Bader or somebody like that. But I was sitting and I remembered a show that we did a couple months ago that at the time was one of our best performing shows. And it was The Uncomfortable Truth about Jung Hoo Lee. Now, we've talked about Jung Hoo Lee a couple of different times on this show, and I've gotten in trouble for it a little bit. I have nothing against Jung Hoo Lee. As I said, the show combines passion and analytics and the eye test. And Jung Hoo Lee, to me, is a guy that can play center field, but I don't look at him and say he's a center fielder. There's nothing wrong with that. So they signed Justin Dean, who is a center fielder, and he just played center field in the World Series, or he was a defensive replacement. They signed Joey Wiemer, who is seen as a plus defender and can also play center field. Drew Gilbert can play center field. And I said something that got me in a little bit of trouble during the season that said there's a conversation to be had about Drew Gilbert versus Jung Hoo Lee when it was just them. They still got Grant McCray, who can play center field as well. And the theme here is if you combine what Buster Posey has been saying about the defensive upgrades that they need to make and the signings that the Giants have made and the trades that they have made, my theory is that the Giants are preparing to soft launch Jung Hoo Lee in right field. I would say in a corner, but specifically right field. And there are a lot of reasons and a lot of good reasons. This is a positive thing for Jung Hoo Lee, why the Giants would do that. Number one, when you look at what it takes to play center field, when somebody is focusing more on the defense and it starts to get in their mind, what does it take away from? It takes away from their hitting. Now, I understand that right field is no walk in the park in Oracle Park, but if you put somebody that can play center field in right field, it's a lot easier than putting somebody that is barely an outfielder in right field. So I don't think Jung Hoo Lee would have a lot of problems with it. I don't think Jung Hoo Lee would have to think too much about it. He would understand the angles, right, with the wall and everything like that, and be good to go. So that is the first thing about this. Number two, when you look at the outfield carousel, and the guys that we have talked about, whether or not they're going to be able to figure this thing out, it's a lot easier to deal with the outfield carousel if that outfielder is the center fielder. This is something that we've seen all across the league because center field is still a premium position. I know some people will throw anybody out there, but center field is still a premium position. If you're going to have someone out there that isn't really hitting, at least you can feel better about it from an organization standpoint, because that guy is playing a premium position, giving you above average play at one of the top spots in the field. So Drew Gilbert, if he's going to struggle, at least let him struggle hitting wise, but give you that plus defense in the outfield. Joey Wiemer, if he's going to struggle, at least let him struggle, giving you that plus defense in the outfield. If Justin Dean is going to struggle, and I know he's going to be back and forth out here in Sacramento with me, if Justin Dean is going to struggle, then if he's going to struggle, allow him to do that in center field while playing a plus center field. Now, obviously, we can even bring up the fact that they could just be defensive substitutions, right? For anybody, not just Jung Hoo Lee, for anybody. And I think that is part of it as well. But the way this thing continues to evolve and the specific types of players that the Giants are starting to bring in, it makes it fairly obvious to me, because going out and getting a right fielder, and I don't think they're going to pay for Kyle Tucker. So going out and getting a right fielder from the free agent market, that might not look appealing based on a money standpoint. Then you bring in the idea that they could do the right field carousel. Well, why do the right field carousel with plus defenders in right field that possibly play a better center field than your center fielder when the right fielder isn't hitting, when that's really a hitting spot? That doesn't make very much sense. So what makes sense to me is to move Jung Hoo Lee to right field. On top of this, let us not forget, what did the Giants talk about basically all season long? Jung Hoo Lee making that transition to Major League Baseball. He played way too many games, and on the back end, they were sitting him what felt like a decent amount, right, to rest his body. Well, you're going to get a little bit more rest on your body in right field. So he'd be able to play more, he'd be able to focus on his hitting more, and they'd be able to get more out of him as an offensive player and not worry about what he's doing on the defensive end. He wouldn't have to worry, and the team wouldn't have to worry. And I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think it is a smart decision for the Giants. This is my opinion. I've thrown it around to people that are close within the organization, and, conversations have been had, but this is my independent thought process on it, just based on the moves that they've made and what Buster Posey has said. Maybe it's just defensive substitutions, but we've ran the numbers before, and it's not about bagging on Jung Hoo Lee. It's about making life easier. You have options. You have plenty of options. So use them, right? Drew Gilbert plays a nasty center field. He can't hit right now. If he's still going to be on the squad, at least he can give you something. You're not utilizing them to their strengths. It's about utilizing the team that you have to their strengths. And if you're adding in a Joey Wiemer, who maybe Joey Wiemer isn't even on the team because he has to make the 40-man because he's got no more minor league options, but he's going to get an opportunity, I believe, in center field. I don't even know if it's the start, but they're going to have opportunities. Justin Dean is going to have opportunities. At the very least, these are defensive substitutions. But at the very most, this is the Giants starting to tell us the main way you can upgrade your outfield is by making your center field position better. And on top of that, you could be adding to your lineup, who Jung Hoo Lee now would only be going into his second full season. And I know the argument, well, Allen, I've seen it before. Well, Allen, he could get better defensively. Sure, he could. But why make life harder on yourself? You don't have to. You already have an open outfield spot. So if you're bringing in guys that are plus defenders and can play center field, why don't you just have Jung Hoo Lee settle in right field and be done with it? You don't have to battle, and I don't have to go back and forth with people about numbers and this and that. He doesn't have to play center in order for Jung Hoo Lee to bring something to this team. He's got to hit if he's playing right field, but on top of that, he could be a plus right fielder. He could be a plus right fielder and an above average hitter, and then his value completely changes. So that is my theory on the Giants' secret plan. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know I've been accused of bagging on Jung Hoo Lee, but this is honestly a positive. I'm being as transparent as possible. It's just the moves that they are making makes the most sense to me that this is the direction that they want to go. On the other side, let me tell you this much. Bleacher Report, what they are saying about the Giants lineup is music to all Giants fans' ears. If you haven't seen it, we are going to go through it right now. How realistic it is, we will discuss that as well. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Second segment for you. And like I said, everybody is going to be happy about what Bleacher Report had to say in their projected lineup, projected rotation. This is from Joel Reuter. And he says, as we wait, so they did a projected starting lineup or starting rotation for every team. And this is the projecting starting rotation for the Giants. He said, we're going to continue to change this as news comes out. And he starts with this. As we wait for more deals to be completed, we've assigned all of the top upcoming free agents to logical landing spots and projected a few major trades on the way to predicting each MLB team's opening day starting rotation for the 2026 season. Now, obviously, there have been a lot of conversations had about how much money the Giants are going to spend. So I want you to keep that in mind, because I don't know if Joel is talking to somebody or not, but this completely opposes what the Giants have been saying, and that's why it will be music to fans' ears. This is what he has. Projecting starting rotation. The number one starter, okay, the ace, Logan Webb. The number two pitcher, Framber Valdez. Number three pitcher, Robbie Ray. Number four pitcher, Zach Gallen. Number five, Landon Roop. And here are his quick thoughts. The Giants have committed significant money to Matt Chapman, Willy Adames, and Rafael Devers in the last year, and the focal point of their offseason will now be building out the rotation around Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. Framber Valdez is arguably the top starter on the market and a virtual lock for a 9-figure payday, while Zach Gallen might be available on a shorter deal following a disappointing contract year, but finished strong to, again, look the part of a potential frontline option. This would be incredible. This would be incredible. And I know some people out there aren't very high on Framber Valdez. We talked about it, I think it was last week, just because of everything that went down. And I hear you. I get all that. But if the Giants did make the move, I would assume that the Giants feel like they have vetted the situation and done their due diligence to understand who Framber Valdez is and what happened on that fateful day where there was a cross up with the catcher and how he decided to react in that way. And they would say, all right, we still think that this is a good decision to make. And then the Zach Gallen part of it, I mean, either way, as we bring up, and this is what Joel also said, he says there are some internal options as well. Hayden Birdsong, Carson Wisenhunt, Kai-Wei Tang, Trevor McDonald, and JT Brubaker. To me, the only person on this list that I would even throw out there and maybe battle with Zach Gallen would be Trevor McDonald. And even saying that out loud sounds ridiculous because we barely saw Trevor McDonald. So if you're asking me, look, Zach Gallen coming off a down year, or any of these internal options that Joel discusses, and Joel brings up, he didn't bring up Blade Tidwell, but Blade Tidwell hasn't pitched in the league. Not yet. So Hayden, Carson Wisenhunt, Kai-Wei Tang, Trevor McDonald, JT Brubaker. I mean, give me Zach Gallen over any of them right now. So if that was your rotation, if you got Framber and Zach, I think that would stop some of the comments that people have had. And I saw all of them as we talked about Joey Wiemer yesterday to start off the week. And a lot of people saying the Giants are bargain bin hunting again. They're dumpster diving. It doesn't matter if it's Farhan. It doesn't matter if it's Buster. They won't spend money. They're not serious. If they went out here and made these two moves, they'd be serious. And the money would be serious because Framber Valdez at 32 years old, his projected salary and his projected contract, 6 years, $190 million. Okay. And Zach Gallen, even coming off that down year, I can't imagine what it would have been if he had a good year because he's 30 years old, 5 years, $135 million. So, like I said, that's 11 years. I think the years are just as much as an issue to the Giants as the money. 6 years for Framber, who's 32. That takes him to his age 38 season. And Zach Gallen, who's 30, that takes him to 35. That's a little bit easier to swallow. But combining them both, I think that we would say, oh, happy day. I don't see it happening based on what the Giants have been telling us. Now, I'll continue to say that I think the Giants are downplaying how much they're willing to spend, but I personally don't think the Giants are willing to spend that type of money on two pitchers. Because if you spend that type of money on two pitchers, yeah, they're not going out and getting a right fielder. I don't even know if they go out and get a lower level outfielder, right? I don't know if they still go out there and get a Harrison Bader at that point, because it would say, hey, we think that we're good hitting wise, and all we need to focus on is the pitching. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we got two starters, not one, but two. This has been my whole thought process this whole offseason. There are two slots. There are two more big money slots. There's definitely one, and that's probably going to be used on a pitcher. But that second spot, which they may or may not go with, could go to an outfielder or could go to another pitcher. Now, in those conversations, it wasn't $100 million for two spots because Harrison Bader ain't making $100 million. And that's where I thought that they were going. If you're going in that direction, there are other names out there. And I know Kyle Tucker's still out there, but that would be crazy. But that type of money, I don't see them spending, even if they spend on two, I don't see them spending this, but maybe Bleacher Report knows something. Because if they were to do this, I think we'd all look around and say, oh, we're in a position to contend, even if they didn't get a right fielder. What we talked about in the last segment, if you have Jung Hoo Lee in right and you have, your platoon, if you will, in center, Jung Hoo Lee would still play center at times if you want to get a Encarnacion, an AB, or a game or whatever it is. They have some decisions to make on the outfielders as a whole. So they would move that around for sure. But they would be saying, we think we're good hitting wise. We're paying enough to be good hitting wise. So we wanted to focus on pitching, and this is where we're at. And I don't know that a lot of Giants fans would be upset if they didn't get a bat, if they went out and spent this type of money on two pitchers. But do I see it happening? No, but it's always good to be optimistic, and you never know what could happen. If you want to go out and get two guys, hey, that'd be beautiful. That would be beautiful for the Giants. Do I see it happening? Not really. No, not really. But we'll see if Bleacher Report is onto something, if the Giants are pulling all of our chains and they really are about to spend that big money. One more segment with you. Let's get into an overseas overview. You have a couple interesting quotes coming out from Imai, which makes it sound like this dude wants to be a Giant. We'll tell you what he said on the other side. More Locked On Giants coming up. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Sports Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. So this is going to make Giants fans extremely, extremely happy. We talked about how the Giants are trying to get more ingrained overseas with the KBO and with Japanese players and how they've taken trips out there. We've talked about that, and the Giants have already been connected to some guys that are coming over from overseas. Now you have this quote coming out from Imai, okay, and this is incredible. So he was doing an interview, and he was asked about playing with the Dodgers, who obviously have other players from overseas, and there would be a connection there. And this is what he had to say. I want to take them down. Playing together with players like Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, and others, of course, it sounds fun, but I think beating a team like that and becoming world champions would be the most valuable thing in my life. That's what he said. That's what he said about beating the Dodgers. So anything can happen. Money talks. We know the Dodgers are in on everyone at all times, but it feels like he is telling the Dodgers, leave me alone. I don't want to go there. And could you imagine the fresh blood, the new energy with Tony Vitello as your manager, how fiery he is, adding someone like Tatsuya Imai, who is saying out loud, I do not want to play for the Dodgers. I don't want to do it. I don't want to just join the crew like everyone else is doing. Look, no hate to the guys that have done it. No hate to Yamamoto. No hate to Shohei, of course. But finally, we have someone that is saying, I don't need to do that. You guys can hang out and do that. But where is the fun in that? Now everybody is going to be on the Dodgers. I don't want to do that. I want to beat you. I want to beat you. And we've seen this before with Shohei during the World Baseball Classic. Just the competitive nature that they're bringing over is so refreshing. People joke about the buddy and the guy gets on second base and they pat their butt, the shortstop, the second baseman, they get on first base. And yeah, there is a gamesmanship to that. I get that. But at the same time, there is also a level of, no, you're not my friend right now, right? You're my friend outside of those lines, or you're my boy outside of those lines. Inside those lines, I'm trying to beat you. And Imai is saying, I don't want to be on a team where everybody is already winning and where everybody already has everything laid out for them. And also, from a rotation standpoint, I know the Dodgers can't keep pitchers healthy, but why don't you go be the man somewhere? Obviously, if you come to the Giants, they have their guys and they have Logan Webb, but you would be one of the guys. I don't know where he fits in the Dodgers rotation. They got so many dang pitchers that they just spawn from AAA and they sign. And, that guy, he's coming back from Tommy John. So he would know, no, you are our number 2 guy, right? Maybe number 3 if you want to make that argument. But you're one of our dudes. And we want you to have the ball in your hands when it's time to go. So I thought that was incredible. And I don't want to say that the Giants are in a prime position to get him, but the Giants are basically in a prime position to get him. If he does not want to go to the Dodgers, you can eliminate them, and he wants to beat the Dodgers. The Giants play the Dodgers 50 times a season. So you'll get your fill. You will get your fill. It guarantees your ability to beat your buddies. Nobody else that I've seen reportedly interested in Imai, nobody else gives you that. Nobody else gives you that. So come on out here to the Bay. We got you. We'll take care of you. Logan Webb has been waiting for something like this. He's been waiting. The competitive nature of the Giants can easily start to shift. And I think everybody would be excited for that to happen. So great stuff from Imai. Look, he could say this and it would age horribly, but he could say this and then they say, well, here's $1 billion and it's all deferred money. And then he's off to be with the Smurfs. But I don't think so. I think that he's being legit about this. And I think the Dodgers might just feel like we can pass on that guy because we can grab everybody else that's ever played the game of baseball. Continuing with the overseas overview, more news. Another pitcher that we've talked about from the KBO, Cody Ponce, was announced the 2025 KBO MVP. He will be signing with an MLB team and potentially leading the Mexico rotation at the World Baseball Classic. He had a 1.89 ERA and a KBO record of 252 strikeouts this season. That is from Jeff Duda of International Baseball. So good for Cody Ponce. I know a lot of you weren't thrilled when I brought up Cody Ponce. You thought, go get one of these proven guys. But can I just say this? All right, Shota is gone. Okay, you start looking around the free agency market. He's gone. A lot of you don't want Framber Valdez because of what's happened, right? Zach Gallen's coming off a down year, so a lot of you don't want him either. And then you don't want guys from the KBO. Okay, a lot of you say Imai, unproven, undersized, Cody Ponce, kind of a throwaway. And I say this all the time on my radio show too, when it comes to the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, and when there are free agents or trade targets, and people say, I don't want him, and I don't want him either. Just tell me who you do want, because you look around and you don't want to spend that big money. And I know there's still other guys out there that are worth big money. Don't get me wrong, but it does seem like there's a lot of, I don't want this guy or that guy. And the Giants are going to sign someone, and anybody that they are signing is going to have a level of risk. We just talked about the different types of risks, and or they just really decide that they're not going to say what they've been saying and not dig in financially and go get, I don't know, somebody on a 2-year deal. I don't even know who that would be if we're talking about Verlander or something like that. And then I don't think any of us would be thrilled with Verlander and Scherzer in the year of 2025, 2026. So I don't think that they'll do that. But I do find that there is a lot of no's, and I think that's just fans in general. But everybody is going to have a level of risk. Every pitcher that you look at is going to have a level of risk, and that type of money commitment is always going to be scary. So you have to look around, and when I look at Cody Ponce, to me, I do see a guy who, and we've talked about his projected salary. That one is probably more appealing to the Giants than Imai, but Imai is coming over and he's ready to do some damage. And I like his thought process. So I'd be good with either of them. Look, y'all, this is my thought process. The Giants really paper mache'd and gorilla glued that rotation together. So I just don't have large expectations for the rotation. I don't think they're going to go get Framber and Zach Gallen. Just get somebody that we feel more comfortable pitching at the big league level than what we saw cobbled together throughout last season. That's all I want. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, but that's just part of the game. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I. This was a good one. I can't wait to read what everybody has to say. Be sure to like, subscribe, and if you're listening via podcast, be sure to continue to tell all your friends about it, to like it as well wherever you're listening to your podcast. I can't wait to read the comments on this one, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Until then, peace.